Good morning. Good morning. Here's what's been happening lately. 3 things. First, USPS postmark changes could impact mail-in voters. Second, Illinois considers joining the federal school voucher program. And then lastly, Illinois State Senate lawmakers introduced bills to address the state's rising cases in domestic violence deaths. Let's break it all down. First up, USPS postmark change could threaten mail-in voters in Cook County, officials warn. As the Illinois primary election draws near, mail-in voters may need to submit their ballots earlier to ensure they are counted under the new USPS policy. Under this new policy, mail will be postmarked on the day it is processed at the post office rather than the day it's dropped in the mailbox. This could affect voters who choose to mail in their ballot for the March 17 election, Cook County officials warn. Because mail is often processed days after it's dropped off, if ballots are postmarked after Election Day, it could jeopardize whether votes are counted. Mail-in ballots must be postmarked by Election Day and received within 14 days to be counted. Officials say the change could affect voters in rural areas, disadvantaged communities, and elderly voters. To ensure ballots arrive on time, Cook County officials urge voters to mail them as soon as possible and ask postal clerks to postmark ballots at the counter. Early voting will begin February 18th at the 69th West Washington Pedway courthouses at suburban Bridgeview, Markham, Rolling Meadows, and Skokie, and at the Melrose Park Village Hall. Early voting will begin March 2nd at all other county sites.
Next, Illinois is among a handful of states deciding whether to opt in to a new federal school voucher program. Under the program, donors can give up to $1,700 to scholarship awarding organizations for K through 12 schools and get an equivalent amount back in federal tax credits. Scholarships can be used to help pay for private school tuition, along with education-related expenses for public school families, like tutoring or after-school programs. Students are eligible to receive the scholarships if their household income is within 300% of their area's median income. Those opposed argue the program diverts public dollars to private schools while public schools remain underfunded. Supporters of the program argue that not opting in would leave money on the table that could otherwise go to support students in the state. 28 states have opted into the federal school voucher program so far, most of which are Republican-led, according to Education Week. The 4 states that have said no to the program, Wisconsin, New Mexico, Oregon, and Hawaii, are all led by Democratic governors. Illinois Governor Pritzker has not yet decided whether to opt in. A spokesperson with the governor's office said in a statement Monday that the office would evaluate the issue through a lens of affordability for working families and what best supports Illinois students, families, and public schools. Lastly, state Senate Republicans introduced bills addressing Illinois' rise in domestic violence deaths. Amid a 140% jump in domestic violence-related deaths since 2022, state Senate Republicans on Thursday proposed a legislative package aimed at ramping up penalties for domestic abusers and making bail more difficult for people accused of domestic violence. State Senators John Curran of Downers Grove and Steve McClure of Springfield and Darby Hills of Barrington Hills are pushing 4 different bills addressing rising domestic violence in Illinois. McClure's bill would raise the classification of a violated court order from a misdemeanor to a felony. Hills introduced legislation would increase the sentence for a violated court order from 24 hours to 48. A subsequent violation would mean a 96-hour sentence. Another bill Hills proposed echoes McClure's, increasing the violation of a protection order to a felony if a perpetrator has any history of violating protection orders. Curran's bill would require the abuser to prove that they pose no threat to society in order to obtain a pre-trial release.